Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the 802 Scoop, located right here at 185 North Main Street in Barre, inside the Inside Scoop. Uh, as I've been telling you all for a little bit now that it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and because there is so much to share around this I, topic. Yeah, let's call it
Issue.
we'll call it a topic, an issue. There's so much to share, and there's so many needs, and it's such a vulnerable population that we often forget about, and we don't really think about as much because I think we have grown even more into a time where we don't always we mind our own business when it comes to some things not so much where we should. And today I've invited the director of Circle of Washington County, Diane Kinney. So she is here joining me in the studio so we can talk to you all a little more about it. Good afternoon, or good morning.
It's
still good
11.
morning.
Yes, it's still good morning. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. We need to get the word out as much as possible about what we do and how needed our services are.
And needed your services are, and how much we need you all, and we maybe just don't realize it. And you need us as a community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need the community to be involved. We need the community to understand that domestic and sexual violence are rampant in our community, and that often they are intertwined with many other issues, especially right now, homelessness and folks who are really struggling to have a roof over their head, or are struggling with substances. There's often some domestic or sexual violence also intertwined there.
And not that it's an excuse, because it isn't an excuse, but stress sometimes escalates that beyond something that maybe it was a violence of verbal violence.
Right. And the stress
that has gone beyond now.
Yes. And we talk about that all the time, that substance abuse or being homeless or having a stressful job or anything that has increased stress can increase the threat of violence. It can increase the level of violence, but it doesn't cause the violence.
Right.
Okay, so violence is a choice, always, and that's something that we need to help folks to understand, is that because there's so much stigma that is attached when someone is needing to leave a violent relationship or needing support because they don't have any money because of the financial abuse or something like that. It's really hard for people to admit this is happening. And it's because of the stigma. Folks who are being harmed frequently feel that it is their fault.
Right, they feel shame.
They feel total shame, often because they're being told that by their partner who is abusive, but also because society tells us that. What I'd love to do today is get the word out about what our services are, and that folks can call us. We're available 24/7. And they can call us and we can talk, it doesn't have to be a crisis situation for folks to call our hotline. We frequently think about calling it something else because folks will still get calls now that say, well, this is an emergency. Is this the right number? Yes, it's the right number. Folks can call us, and when I go out and talk to the community, or talk to different agencies, that I work with, as far as Washington County Mental Health or whatever, I tell folks, call us just to talk about the situation that you're trying to navigate. If you're a therapist, if you're a case manager, give us a call and we can hypothetically talk about what services we may be able to provide or how you might be able to advise the person.
Right. And maybe you have someone that feels like they're in an abusive situation, but they're not sure. And
Right.
it's just something that they need to talk through and talk out. And maybe
Absolutely.
they're not. Maybe there's somebody who hopefully could just do some counseling with their spouse, and there are all kinds of those services as well.
Yes.
Maybe it's not. Maybe they're just both having a rough time with communication, and
Right.
it's not an escalated thing, but sometimes it can certainly seem that way.
Yes. And I encourage people to call and just talk to us. We are really good at understanding if there is a power imbalance because that's what this is about. When one partner has power over in whatever way, that is where there can be abuse can grow.
And it can wear many faces. When you talk about
Absolutely.
power can wear the checkbook, the household chores, the how long you're gone to do something. It can wear so many faces. Where
Yes.
you can work, what you can wear. There's so many different things involved where, maybe you think, well, it's no big deal. He or she just tells me that, I can't wear this, or I can't wear makeup, or I can't spend this much money. I get a certain allowance. And sometimes I think we fall into routines really easily because you chalk it up as this is just the person, the situation.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that it's right.
Right. Well, and truthfully, many people live in relationships forever that may be not balanced power-wise. But that's their choice,
Right.
and that's fine. It's when it crosses over into one person being afraid of the other, one person being afraid of what the other might do, whether that be physical violence or, slandering in the community or, different things that create a situation where one person feels really afraid of the other. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, and just to be clear, it is really not a great idea to do any kind of couples counseling if you're worried about a power imbalance,
Exactly.
because that can put someone in a very dangerous situation really quickly. Because if you are the person who is feeling like maybe you could be hurt, you're not going to be able to be truthful in that couples counseling session, and it may come back at you.
Right. And if you are truthful, you may create a danger for yourself. That
Absolutely.
is,
And that's one of the things that we can help people sort out.
right. Talk it out. Figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because no relationship is perfect.
No.
None. They're all work.
Yep.
But they shouldn't be toxic.
Right. It shouldn't be, you shouldn't be afraid of your partner. You should be able to be safe in your home. Safe to be yourself in your home. And if you're feeling like the person could physically hurt you or emotionally hurt you, that's not good.
That's
And
not safe.
yeah.
Let's give the number for the hotline.
It's 1-877-543-9498.
Say the last four again.
9498.
All right. I want to make sure.
And just so folks know, during the weekday, Monday through Friday, usually like 9 to 4:30, we have paid staff that will pick that up. So you'll call and somebody will pick it up immediately. In the evenings and on the weekends, the call will go to an answering service, and then we will call you back. We get a text on our phone, and then we'll call you back, and we'll call you back from a block line. And that's important for our safety as well as yours.
Right. And it's important for somebody to realize that there is going to be a call back. It's kind of like 911. So when you do it, make sure that you're in a safe space to do that
To
because
call
that's
back,
what's
yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah, yeah,
And if you need to help immediately, then 911's the
Is your
answer
best bet,
and not your
yeah.
hotline.
Exactly, exactly. And just, you know, sometimes folks are worried that we're going to report what they say. We don't tell anybody anything, ever. We are completely confidential. When you work for us or you volunteer for us, you go through a 20-hour training to ensure that you are confidential. It's called crisis worker privilege in Vermont. We can't tell anybody who we talk to, what we talk about, or anything unless that person wants us to and signs a release. So sometimes people will call and say, you know, I just need to report this. And it's like, well, we don't report to anybody. You know, if you want the police involved, we can talk about how you can do that. But nothing you say is going to get to anybody else besides the 3 or 4 of us
Right.
that need to know the information to
And if
help
you need a restraining order, you support that effort as well. You even go into the court with them, right?
Absolutely. On Tuesday mornings, which was this morning, I just was talking to our advocate who was there this morning. Every Tuesday morning, there is RFA court in Barry. Generally, there's anywhere from 3 to 10 RFAs every Tuesday morning
Wow.
for Washington County.
And all surrounding just domestic violence?
Correct.
Wow.
Yes. Sometimes stalking, sometimes sexual violence. It's an RFA can be gotten by anyone who is in an intimate relationship or living in a household with someone who hurts them. And it's not criminal. It's civil, so there doesn't need to be police involved. And it's a way to get some protection. It can be an order that just you continue to live with the person, and it's a no abuse order. So they can't physically harm you. And if they did, then it becomes criminal. So if you get an order against your partner and the partner violates that order, which could mean, you know, you can get an order that says that you cannot have any contact, that the person can't come within 300 feet of you, that you you can't live together, you know, those kinds of stipulations. And if the person who the order is against violates that order, then it becomes criminal. But until then, it's not. So it's a way for folks to get some protection without involving police.
It's a boundary. You have set a boundary.
Exactly.
And gotten yourself some help and supports.
Right.
And now you can move from there however it should proceed.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we do is if somebody calls us and wants information about a relief from abuse order, we'll give them that information. They can come into our office and we will help them to understand how the affidavit works. Because sometimes folks have never been in the courtroom, they've not done any kind of legal work at all. So an 8-page document that they need to fill out
overwhelming.
is overwhelming. So one of the things we can do is help folks to understand what the law is, what the judge is looking for, what will rise to the level of a granted RFA. And so we'll sit with them and help them figure that out, help them to decide what to put in the affidavit. They need to write the affidavit. It's their words. We don't tell them what to say. We just give them information about. Sometimes folks tend to be really, really upset about things that are not illegal.
Right. Right.
Like name calling or, you know, an affair or different things that.
Because it all gets overwhelming.
It's
So it
overwhelming and
all
it's
seems
terrible.
Like,
There's many things that partners do to each other or do to the person that they're trying to have power over that are not illegal. It still makes them terrible. So we help to kind of sort that out. And then we'll go, you know, we'll walk over to the court with them. We will, and then we'll provide an hour's worth of what we call a court hour to help them understand what's going to happen when they go to the courtroom. One of the only positive things out of COVID was that you can virtually attend court now. So if you are feeling too anxious to be in the same room as the person that hurt you, you can do it on your phone or on your laptop. But you can also go in person.
Right.
And we have an advocate that is there. And that advocate would talk to you ahead of time and also be present for you for the court.
So we most know that it's not the be all and end all. So
Of course not. It's a piece of
the
paper.
RFA does not fix everything. So
Nope.
there still needs to be support and services after, because that often can sometimes, an RFA can escalate a situation. So you need to be understanding of this
What it
is
can and
what
can't
it,
do.
what it can and can't do,
Yeah.
and what your next move is. And maybe you need to help to get yourself to a safe space. Maybe
Yep.
you need help speaking with law enforcement or other people.
Yes.
And you
And we can do all those.
facilitate
Yes.
that as well.
When someone says that they're interested in an RFA, one of the first things that we ask is how the person that's hurting them might react. We ask, has this person been in trouble with the law before?
Do they own weapons?
Right.
There's
those
must
kinds
be a
of
whole
things.
line of questions.
Will they care what a judge says? You know, so someone who hasn't been in trouble with the law before, who, you know, generally the community thinks is a really good person, might care what the judge says.
Right.
Right? Someone who is in the courtroom every other day for other criminal offenses probably won't. So we do that kind of assessment first before we encourage someone to do an RFA. And then, you know, there's many other things that we can talk about. If an RFA isn't going to work, and some people are really clear, that's not going to do me any good. It's a piece of paper. I live in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
It takes 45 minutes for state police to get to me. I need to do something else. So then we're going to talk to folks about how to get safe. We have a shelter. We have a 6-bedroom shelter in Washington County, and we can house up to 12 bodies. So a person with their kids or people by themselves, depending, adults.
Right.
We will house. If there's no space in our shelter, we can help folks to figure out where else to go. A lot of times, isolation is a major component of abuse. So there may be friends or family that an abused person hasn't talked to for 3 years. So we'll suggest, okay, so is there anybody that maybe the abusive person doesn't know where they live, you haven't gotten to talk to them for a long time, could you call them and see if you could go stay there? There's, you know, we do a lot of safety planning that is very particular to that person. Everybody's case is different, and what they're comfortable doing is different.
We have Jackie wanted to know, is the shelter for women only, or do you ever get men that call you or ask for your assistance?
We do get men that ask for our services. Men are abused in situations. Sometimes it's right now it's 1 in 3 men and 1 in 9 women. Oh, wrong. Other way.
Other
one
way.
In, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 9 men. We do not bring male identified folks into our shelter at this point, but we support them in other ways. We'll support them to get a hotel stay. We'll help them get an RFA. We'll do all those things. Female identified folks come into our shelter.
Which, in really, that is the case with any kind of shelter or treatment facility. They really are, most of them are, there's specific for genders. There's
Often,
facilities
yes,
for males and
yes.
females. Not very often are they co-ed situations, and nor, I don't think this is a situation where you would ever want that to be a co-ed situation.
I think it depends. There are some domestic violence shelters across the country that are any gender. The way we are set up, the way we're in a big old house, and the way the house is set up, I don't think we could afford enough safety for folks to feel safe. We're trauma informed. Many folks who come into us wouldn't come if they knew that male identified folks
Well,
were there.
and
So
I wouldn't either. So
Right.
100% honest.
Right.
In the situation, and I've been in it before, there's an intimidation there.
Yes.
And so if whether you're male or female, it doesn't matter if there's an intimidation of the opposite. That can really put a strain on what you're willing to get for help, what you're willing to say out loud.
Yes.
That fear, that barrier needs to go away because there needs to be a safe space.
Right.
And wouldn't it be a perfect world if we could afford to have 20 of these houses so that everybody that called got the help they needed
Sure.
with domestic violence,
Yeah.
with substance use, with anything else.
with all of
It's
those
the
things.
same across the board. It's
Yes.
not that you're picking or choosing one gender over another at all. It's
Well,
just it's the way it all
the reality
happens.
is that in our society, which is a patriarchal society, there are more women hurt.
Yeah,
That's just the reality.
right.
It doesn't mean that men don't get hurt. They do. And we talk to them on the phone. We help them get RFAs. We'll, do the safety planning, all the normal things that we would do.
Right, you just don't have a roof
Correct.
for that situation.
Yes. And what we can do is we can help them to get a hotel stay and then continue to work with them. We just have to look at the reality.
yeah. And the
And-
realities are different for everybody.
Correct. And honestly, the level of violence that we're seeing right now, 10 years ago, we didn't hear about folks getting strangled on the regular. Now it's every fourth or fifth call. The level of violence that folks are enduring is really high. And I have some ideas about what's causing that, but that's another podcast. But people need safety, and one of the things that we're seeing a lot of is what is deemed post-separation abuse. Frequently, people think, "Oh, just leave them, just
Right,
leave
it's
her.
all over.
Just it's all done." That can be true if you don't have any children and you move to a different part of the world.
Right.
But once you have children with an abusive partner, that is something, unless the person, and this does happen, unless the person decides that they want nothing to do with you and they move on, if they want to continue to abuse, they use kids. And we work with many people, we'll work with folks as long as they want to work with us. So, we have folks that we've worked with for 5-6 years because they keep getting drugged back into court, or they keep having difficulties with visitation, or because the abuser hasn't given up yet.
Right, and that can often, same thing, it can look so different for so many people. Maybe the abuse only included the spouse, the mom, the dad, and never included the kids. But
Right.
you never know when it's going to get to that point.
Right.
So you've created this barrier and this
Right.
safety zone. You said, okay, I need to get out of here before it escalates to that.
Right.
Hopefully, and some
Right.
people don't.
Right.
And
Well,
then
and-
you have to that realization of visitation, those things put my child in danger.
Yep.
And even if they were never involved, that fear is still there. The torment that you have lived with for God knows how long.
Right.
And the fear is still there that's
Yeah.
going to happen to your babies. And
Absolutely.
the claws come out. And that's a scary thought.
Right. Honestly, that's a reason that many folks stay in abusive relationships, because what about the kids? And not wanting to take a mom or a dad away from their kids, or, those kinds of things. And the reality is, in Vermont, if you divorce or you separate, custody is almost always 50-50. So that's
Which has
scary.
changed. There was a time where it was not done that way.
Correct.
But now, it
They're
50-50
you know,
is usually what it
is
is.
usually
Somebody
what
might get
happens.
100% legal. Somebody might get 100%
Right.
physical. But
But if it
custody
comes
is
down
almost
to a
always
judge's
50-50.
decision, you know, like
Yeah.
folks can come to an agreement that's different than 50-50.
Right.
But if it comes down to a judge's decision, most of the time it's going to be
Yeah.
50-50 unless one of the parties has done something heinous.
Right. Yeah.
So now you are worried about your child who has to go
Right.
and hoping and many times, and I don't want to make it sound like it can never work out, because sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have 50-50, they treat their kids fine and everything is okay.
Right, and some people, when this stuff happens, they realize, holy shit, I have a problem, and I better
Right.
get myself some help. And if they're
Yes.
working toward that, and they're truly trying to build this relationship and this bond back because they've realized, as you said, it's a choice, and I better change what I'm choosing here.
Right.
That can happen. Nobody's
Yes.
saying that can't happen.
Right.
But it's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare.
Yeah.
Because usually an abuser, no matter what, in their mind, they're right. They're the be all and end all, and they don't need to
Yep.
they don't
It's
need help.
unfortunate.
It's you that is the problem.
Yeah.
You need the help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one
It's
of the
classic.
reasons it's so hard to leave, because you believe it's your fault.
Yeah. So, you all do all kinds of amazing things in the community, which you have told us. I mean, you're here for us. So, what is it that the community can do to help you all?
Well, I know funds are tight, but we can use funding. One of the things that's going to be happening this year is the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence has a group of folks who attempt to educate the legislature about the needs. And one of the needs is for the money that the states give to our agencies needs to increase. And that's one of the things.
Because it hasn't increased in
It
a
hasn't.
long time.
It hasn't increased in
a very long time. Everything else, expenses have, but
Yes.
that has
well,
not.
and that's the thing. Like when we think about, like if you think about running your household, right? Electricity's gone up, gas has gone up, food's gone up, all those things.
Yeah, payroll's gone up.
Payroll's gone up. In our shelter, we're housing 6 families. We go through so much toilet paper, so many paper towels, so much food, and we don't provide folks all the food, but we try and make sure people are not hungry. Sometimes people come into our shelter and they've not had to apply for food stamps. They haven't been allowed to work. They have no income. So we need to get them through. So all of those expenses have just gone up, just like your house. So we need funding.
And sometimes maybe even more, because maybe they have literally come with the clothes on their back, or in an emergency
Yes.
situation, and they need
Yes.
hygiene products and clothing, and
Right.
maybe backpack for school
Yep.
and supplies and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
We're not talking about just a little bit of
No.
money here in the
Right.
first 30
Right.
days.
Yeah. And the thing, right now, our board of directors has put out what we call purple boxes. And there are different places in the community, and there's a list on them that says we can use toilet paper, we can use dish detergent, we can use, and that's really helpful from the community.
Yeah.
Those board members will be delivering them back to us probably November 1st or 2nd. And that really stocks us for a good 6-7 months.
I believe there's one up at Wilkins.
Yes.
I believe it was left there after
Yes.
the ride.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the ways that the community can help. The other thing that we're looking for is volunteers. So, like I said, we are bound by confidentiality. So in order to volunteer for us, either on the hotline or in our shelter or just to help with events, there's a 20-hour training that volunteers go through. We're hoping to be doing a training maybe before the end of the year. We'll see how many people. I want to at least get 5 or 6 people that want to, because we talked about our hotline earlier. In the evening and on the weekends, we have volunteers that answer that hotline. So if folks are at all interested in volunteering.
You mean you need a day off?
Nah, not me. We all work really hard, and volunteers help us. They help us by doing hotline, usually from 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning is a volunteer shift. And volunteers are never alone. There's always a staff person on call as well. So if folks are interested in volunteering with us, it would be really great. You can, in order to do that, you can mention on our Facebook page. You can just go to our Facebook page and say, I want to volunteer, and we'll get back to you. You can go to our website, which is circlevt.org. And on that website, there is a volunteering section. And it actually has a volunteer application that you can download and then email back to us. We also need board members, folks who have access to money. I'm going to be really blatant. We need folks who can fundraise. That's what we need on our board. So anybody that's listening, if you know someone in the community that, that domestic and sexual violence is near and dear to your heart, or supporting survivors of it at least, and you want to come and work with us, let us know. Folks can email us at info@circlevt.org. We will respond, not 24/7, just so folks know. The only thing that's 24/7 is our hotline. But you can even call that and tell us you want to be a board member or a volunteer. That's fine. Because what I usually say to folks is that if one person has answered our hotline, another line can ring, and we can answer that one too. So it doesn't matter. We will answer the phone.
No, I think that's amazing. So last weekend, you were supposed to do an event in Montpelier, and thank goodness that you did not, the clothesline event, because
Yes.
you would have maybe blown away in the wind
Yes.
with like the tents in Stowe.
In Stowe, yeah.
So you did not do that, but
No.
that is the clothesline event.
It's
So
the
maybe
clothesline
you could-
project,
let's
and
tell about that.
Yes. So it's an art installation, basically. We ask survivors who come into our shelter, who come to our support groups, if they wanted to do art on a T-shirt. The Clothesline Project, I forget what state it started in, but it's been around for years and years and years. Just kind of a play on the hanging out your dirty laundry. And so what we do is have folks design a T-shirt that talks about them being a survivor, talks about their abuse, talks about whatever, and then we hang it on clotheslines. And we were at the farmers market last year. The year before that, we were on the lawn at the Capitol. So it just didn't work out this year. I'm hoping that we can, we'll definitely make it happen next year. But it's just a really good way for folks to express themselves. Art is wonderful. We don't only support folks in their getting safe, we also support their healing.
Moving forward, yeah.
Their healing. And art is a really great way to do that. When folks are in our shelter, we do a lot of art projects. We do art projects with kids. We do a lot of education about why this happened and how folks can move on from it.
So the T-shirts, are they something that go back with you? Do you bring them to the farmer's market only for display, or is this a way that you can possibly make funds where people would purchase a T-shirt and or bid on the T-shirts to
That
support?
is a possibility. I've never, generally people make the T-shirts and then like, there's been times when we've said folks can make two, they can keep one and they can give us one for display. We've never sold them to anyone or used them for fundraising, but that's a really good idea.
I think that you should. I think that there should be a big T-shirt auction, and you should auction off these beautiful T-shirts, and that would be a great way for people to support you.
Yes, it's a good idea. We could definitely think about that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many T-shirts you have, but hey, you never know.
Well, and we have some really artistic people who might be willing to make
more.
some.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really great idea. There's a couple folks I'm thinking of right now who are incredibly artistic. It's one of the things that people kind of remember that they used to do when folks come into shelter. Usually the first 2 weeks they're kind of in a stupor, trying to catch up with what has happened to them. And little by little, they'll begin to remember who they were. And often there are many talents that they have not been able to exercise. Yeah, that they've tucked away, that they've not used, that they haven't had time to think about, or that weren't valued.
And it's exhausting. I mean, when you go, I always said, and I feel, when I say it, I often feel like I shouldn't say it out loud because it sounds so asshole of me. But as you know, and I talk about, I went to prison. And yes, it was absolutely traumatic for me. I had to leave my kids. That devastated me. Absolutely. But my first 48 hours in jail, I slept.
Yep. For the first
slept
time
the whole time, in God knows how long. I was just so tired of it all, the entire situation, and that's got to be the same.
That's exactly
when somebody
what
comes
happens.
in, you just, even whether you have kids or not, just the fact that okay, we're safe and we can take a breath. It's just so. It's unexplainable because you can't even help it. You don't even realize you're that tired until you have a minute to take a breath.
Right.
And then it just happens.
Because when you are trying to stay safe, like it's not, and I think it's hard for folks that haven't gone through this to understand that when you are in an abusive situation and you are being abused, it's not like it's one dimensional. It's not I'm being, threatened with physical violence. It's that you're isolated. It's that you're being called names. It's that you're being told you're stupid. It's that you have no access to money. Or you're the one making the money and your money gets taken.
Right.
You're being told you're a terrible mom, but you have 3 littles to take care of. Like it's layers upon layers upon layers of things that are happening. And then you're also supposed to try and figure out how to get out. Like how do you have the brain space to do that?
Right. Yeah.
So we know, and I tell everyone that works with us, volunteers and paid staff, people call us when they're safe. They call us when they can have one tiny square of space to think about getting out. And then our job is to be their brainstorm. Because we all know that when we are traumatized, our ability to creatively think goes out the window.
Yeah.
We're essentially, breathing, eating, maybe not even eating, trying to stay alive.
Right. And walking on eggshells.
And walking on
because
eggshells
you don't know what it
because
is
you never know
next
what's gonna
that's
happen
going to
next.
make it
Right.
a bad situation. Did I say something wrong?
Yep.
Did I not put something back where it belonged, or hang a shirt in the closet the proper
Right.
way? Something, anything.
And when we say those things, I feel like sometimes the community doesn't understand
It
that
can
it
be
is
that
at that
small.
level.
Yeah.
And it is. It is at that level. I talk to, 10 to 12 women a day that that's happening to. So it is that significant and insignificant. Like
Exactly.
it's tiny little things and it's layer upon layer upon layer. And if, depending on how long you've been in the relationship, you lose self-esteem the longer you're in, so you believe what you're being told about yourself. So having the strength to actually do something about it takes enormous bravery and
Yeah.
courage.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said before, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that it wears many faces. You don't have to be a specific kind of family. The makeup of your family maybe look different than the makeup of my family.
Yep.
You may be wealthy. You may have a great job. You may have no jobs. You may be struggling in a hotel or homeless.
Right.
It wears just as many faces as mental health, because let's face it, this is a mental health crisis as well, just like addiction or any of these other things. You just never know. And the abusers are very, very good at making themselves feel and seem to the community at large like amazing people.
Yep.
That you would never in a million years, when it finally
and
comes
that's how
out, you
you-
would not suspect such a thing.
And that's how people end up with abusive people in the first place. It's not like they knew this.
Right.
I always say to folks, like, if they had a big A on their head,
Right.
it would be easy. And if they were terrible to you all the time,
Right.
it would be easy.
Right.
But it's not. It's complicated.
Yeah. There's
It's
all
really
kinds of I'm
complicated.
sorry's. There's maybe even
Yes.
affection.
Yes.
Sometimes all of that can happen. And things may change and be great again for months and months, and then it happens again. Some people, it only changes for a few days or even hours. It's
really
a cycle,
complicated.
and it's a very vicious,
super
toxic
complicated.
cycle.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
very, very complicated. And basically what we do is we meet people where they are, wherever they are in that. And the other thing is I have heard that sometimes people don't want to call us because they're worried that we're going to make them do something about it. And we're not. We don't ever want to make someone feel like we're telling them what to do. They're being told what to do all the time. So what we do is listen to what they think they might need and help them to get it.
Yeah. You're
We're
just
gonna-
the arms.
Yep, we just are meeting them where they are. If they don't want police involved, police are not involved. If they don't want to leave, we'll work with folks who are staying in the relationship and talk about how they can be more safe.
Before, I want to make sure that we loop back to your needs. And so benefits, do you have any fundraisers or anything that
We
you
don't
do?
have anything on the books right now, but as soon as we do, I will let you know so that you can.
Absolutely, shout
yeah.
it out.
That
from
would
the
be
rooftops.
lovely. That would be lovely.
Absolutely, I attended the one that you all had.
Yes,
at
our
the Elks.
our Calcutta, which was really fun.
That was
and
great.
It was.
Maybe
yeah.
we should do that again and have the T-shirt auction there.
We could. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
We could, for sure.
it was a great time.
Yeah.
It was
It was
and
fun. We had a good
I
time.
wish more people would have come out.
Yes.
And so
I think it's really hard
It's
right
hard.
now.
Yeah, it's
Folks
hard.
are struggling.
they are.
And I get that. And, in October before the first flood,
Yeah, right.
we would try and get restaurants to donate a portion of their proceeds for a night, in different places. We decided not to do that this year because,
You recognize.
yeah,
the
we
struggle.
recognize that it's really hard. People are having a difficult time.
But in another way that people can support, though, is soon cities and towns all through Washington County will be talking about their budgets.
Yes.
And you will be an item on the budget.
Yes.
And that's a way that you can be contributed to. You can
Yeah.
vote yes when it comes to
to giving
somebody
Circle
that
money.
I want to
Yeah.
give money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do is we try and when folks call us, we ask what town they're from.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason is so that we know that they're in Washington County, because we know Washington County. We know how the legal system works. We know how the shelter system works. We know those kinds of what the resources are. So if someone is from another county, I don't want to give them misinformation.
Right.
So that's the main reason we ask for the town. If we get folks, and then when it comes time for towns to decide, can they give Circle some money, we usually will give them an idea of how many folks in their town were given services by Circle. And, many towns will give us $300 or $400, which is lovely, but we'd really like a lot more.
Right. Right. It helps. It all goes in the bucket.
Everything
but
helps.
The support you need is
Right.
quite
The
a bit
support
greater than that.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And the support you're providing is
Yeah.
definitely well worth it and much greater than that.
Well, because one of the other things we do is we have 2 support groups. And those are, one is in person and one is virtual. And those are for folks who are either currently in a relationship that is abusive, have recently left, or have left a long time ago and just continue to need support because this impacts all of your life.
It does, because it's often very easy, because you're so vulnerable, to slip back into a similar relationship because you're just looking for that safety, the companionship, the security.
Right.
And in looking for that, sometimes you can fall for the same thing more than once.
Yes.
It
Well,
can
and
happen.
the
It
thing that
often happens.
Yeah, it often happens. What I've noticed over the years, I've been doing this for a really long time, and what I've noticed is that frequently someone will be in a very physically abusive relationship. Their next relationship won't be physically abusive, but it'll be very emotionally abusive. And that takes longer to identify, as you can imagine. And they're so happy that, the physical violence is not there.
Right, that they'll take all the shit from the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we work with folks for a long time. And
Which is amazing. It's just like AA or any of, substance use treatment, any of those things. It doesn't go away overnight. The scars that are left behind are deep. They take
deep.
a long time sometimes, and
Yes.
sometimes they never go away. They're
Yep.
always there. It's something that you can work toward. But when you need help, and maybe you've been fine for a few years, and some instance in your life triggered something in you that just brought this big fear back. Maybe it's a boss or a new job or a situation that you were at in
Yeah,
your,
that it
and you
feels
just
familiar.
and you just need that little bit of
support.
okay,
Yep.
can somebody pick me up and say, you're okay, take a breath, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to work so that you can continue to keep moving forward and you
Absolutely.
don't fall backward
Yep.
again.
I just want to mention one other thing that we do is that we provide support to folks whose abusive partners have been criminally charged. So we will also help them to understand the criminal system, which is really difficult to do.
Yes, it is.
And we'll support them throughout that process. We work really closely with the state's attorney's office. We help folks to understand the system, to kind of work through all of the ins and outs of, should I do a deposition? Should I not do a deposition? Should I agree to this plea deal? Should I not? And it's complicated. So we will, meet individually in person. We'll talk to folks on the phone. We will attend meetings with folks if they need it. We also work really closely with DCF because sometimes DCF will be involved in some of the families that we work with. And one of the things that DCF has done across the state is provide liaisons between domestic violence agencies and DCF office.
Yeah.
And we happen to have a really good liaison that we work with. They're all wonderful. And we can kind of be that bridge in the middle to help support folks as they're dealing with DCF and the abusive partner.
Awesome. Great stuff. And I hope that we can just continue to work together.
I would love that.
Spread the message.
Yep.
Talk about it. Get more in depth. I mean, we know that there's as we said, there's many faces. Not only are there many faces, but there are many pieces to the puzzle.
Yep.
There are all kinds of things that we could dig into here.
Yeah,
but
we
to
can
know that it's an everyday occurrence. Your phone
Yes.
is always ringing. It's mostly
yeah.
you count on us as a community to help you, and you need us right now.
Absolutely.
Badly.
Our hotline calls in the last fiscal year went up by 12%. The year before that, they went up 25%.
Wow.
So, yeah, we're doing more and more work and
That's
supporting more and more folks.
Very significant.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you a million times for coming in. I always love talking to you and having you, and so I'm super grateful that you came to be with us today. And
I'm really appreciative
we'll
of you.
talk to you
Raylene.
again soon, and you and I will be chatting about getting you an auction so that you have some money coming in.
That sounds lovely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see what's happening. So nothing tonight, unless you want to come to the sine wave in the park at City Hall, 5 o'clock for Michael Booten. That's it. That's all I'm doing tonight. So nothing else going on. Tomorrow night, the ladies will be here for 4 Quarters with Lori Shepard, and they're going to have some great special guests in the house with them. Some young gals from some pretty cool teams, local. So looking forward to connecting with them and see what they all have going on. And then Thursday night, of course, Michael and I will be here at 7 o'clock for the weekly wrap. We have Preston's Kia Trunk or Treat happening on Friday evening. That starts at 4 o'clock. Line up by 3:30 so we can close the parking lot off and get that all safe for the kids. And then I think it's going to be a rather quiet weekend, which, not going to lie, I'm looking forward to because the last 2 have been a little bit crazy. So thank you all for joining us this afternoon. And please share the podcast if you know somebody that you think could really benefit from today's show. Make sure that they can watch it and that they know that they're not alone.
They're not.
So have a great day, everyone.